Welcome to it, sports fans. A different ball game Monday, and it's what, August? My gosh, look at this year go, huh? Pandemic years. It's crazy. One day we'll have to explain to our grandkids, nieces, nephews that we had to get permission to go to the shops to get avocados. What a wild world. What a wild weekend. Chelsea losing, of course, to the Arsenal this weekend. Disastrous. Absolutely disastrous performance by Lampard. But we will be unpacking the season for everybody this season. Got a couple of people coming on this week. This week, actually. Tomorrow we'll start with Manchester United and their season. That will be revealed. We will have Paulo Diaz as our Man United guest tomorrow. And the week will go from there. So it's the football season. Goodbye to this pandemic season. Cannot wait for next season. Only 6 weeks away. Looking forward to that. But for tonight, of course, we know what happens. Football never sleeps. It's all about the transfers now. I cannot wait to get into that. And there's two big ones on the market. I'll tell you what I think and the teams that are being linked to them and the players in particular. And then, of course, we had a rugby on the weekend. I'm not alone. I am joined by Woude Muller. Woude, what's happening?
Hey, it's nice to see you, actually. Never thought I would say that. I had a nice weekend. I had a charity day yesterday, which was great. It was a lot of fun at a Graceland, which is like a space for young women. And we helped to uplift them and give them opportunities to find work. So that was great. It was really nice to be there. I am going to help them to start driving now. So I'm going to have to give driving lessons. I'm not sure if I'm the best. I'm not sure if I'm the best person to help someone teach them how to drive. I'm a great driver. I just like to swear at people who cut me off.
So it'll be growth for two people, for the ladies you're helping and for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no,
absolutely.
Good for both of you. All right, Woude, that's awesome. So you had a good weekend, not just in the physical sense. You were giving back to the community of Cape Town.
Mm-hmm.
That is great. Awesome. All right, Woude will be back a little bit later. We'll talk a little bit of rugby. Good weekend, good games in the rugby. So looking forward to chatting about that in the skip pass, Woude.
Yes. I might get a bit aggressive, but let's leave it there for now.
It's okay. It's a pandemic time, you know. It's just a tough time. You have to go and align your chakra. Because what's the schedule from here? Get aggressive, get in a bad relationship, break up, move to Thailand, get yoga shorts, get a yoga course, become a vegan, and then, yeah, that's what happens.
Me?
Not you necessarily, but that's the template, you know? Like, I'm aggressive, my relationship goes badly. Before I know it, I'm in Thailand doing a yoga course. I come back, and I don't need world possessions. Are we headed that way?
No. Firstly, I need to find the relationship so that I can break up with someone.
Oh,
so that needs to be the first step.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry I opened this box. I should have taken the money instead of the box.
Maybe my aggressiveness is going to start earlier than we thought.
I immediately regret going down this path. That was on me, and I've asked for it. You know.
No, but it might be easier than you think. I've had more options for dates in the last 4 months than I have for the past year. So maybe it might be easier than what I think to find someone to break up with.
Never let a pandemic go to waste. As they say, if you can't find love in a pandemic, you're wasting time. So good for you, Woude. Good for the ladies you're helping to drive. And good for us. Sports is rolling back. All right, Woude, we'll see you in a bit in the skip pass. Oh, man. Too good. Too good, Woude Muller. All right, so let's get into it. Because we know, as football fans, the season's over for those that don't really watch football. But if you're hardcore into it, it's just as exciting as a season sometimes. Because we know what we do now is how do our squads get better? So one of the things I used to read about Sir Alex Ferguson was whenever the season would end, he says he knew the great players in his team. So not the very good ones, not the most talented, the great players in their team, is they'd come to him immediately and go, right, how do we get better? That's after they've won Premier League, trebles, all of that. And I guess that's the question being asked around Europe. Now, there's two players in particular I'm interested in. Both have a different dynamic, but we'll start with the man who's, it looks like, and I was just reading on Twitter before I came on here, that he's on his way to Manchester United. He is on his way to Manchester United. So, listen, I don't even want to get into his numbers at Borussia Dortmund. We can do that tomorrow with Paulo when we talk about it. But I have incredibly big reservations about this guy. I've said it before, I'll say it again. When somebody shows you who they are, believe them the first time. And he's shown it before with being late for practice. So he's been fined for that before. And that's one thing I just cannot tolerate in a sportsman. I cannot tolerate sportsmen that are late for practice. It's one of the things. Overweight and can't make practice on time. Trust me, I know. I was that guy. Except I don't think he's got a drinking problem. I used to like the party too much. So I just won't tolerate it. And at this level, this is Manchester United. Are you kidding me? And what worries me is double-sided. Is when Luke Shaw came to Manchester United, he was overweight. Now, when a sportsman is overweight, it's a character issue. That's not a talent issue. They are choosing to be overweight. They are now choosing, because he was right at the top end. Southampton, for those who don't know, probably the best academy in the whole of the world, if not definitely England, right? It's produced more superstars. If you go and look at the Southampton roots, incredible superstars. Probably the best development academy in world football. But he came out of there, and still the guy couldn't be in terms of weight, be all right. Now that worries me. It says, what's the management at Man United going to be like? Because trust me, there is no way, Sir Alex Ferguson, there is no way that flies with Fergie. He's not making it through the front door. He is not making it through the front door. Overweight at Man United, are you kidding me? Now you got another problem child on the way. Because now it's becoming a pattern, right? Once, okay. Twice, because then you bring Pogba in-house. What's the dressing room becoming? This is my issue. And remember, dressing rooms run themselves. What's the dressing room becoming? So we've got a character issue in the leader of the dressing room, poor Pogba. That's a problem. Now you got Luke Shaw, character problem. I'm sorry, overweight at United and continues to be overweight, by the way. Cramps again. He's out again. I don't know if you saw the second last game. So that's a character problem. Now, this guy has two problems. Late for training, fined many, many times for Borussia Dortmund. And if you've been to Germany, there's a reason why there's a stereotype. The Germans always say, there's a beautiful saying in Germany, I can't say it in German, but they say, the train is never late. You are late. That's what they think about time. The train in Germany is never late. You are late. And they apply that across the board. So if you can't even get the character part right, be on time. Are you, like, I'm not asking this guy to perform, open heart surgery. Just be on time, have a clock, have a cell phone. And we have a problem. And if you didn't see it in the quarantine, of course, he put everyone in jeopardy. What did he do? He had to get a haircut. He had to get his haircut. He just had to. He's about that life. He's going to get his haircut. Now, people might say you're analyzing it too much, but it's just, I've seen poor character and it displayed it myself enough. I know what poor character looks like. Trust me, the Sancho thing's not going to work at United. I don't care what happens. The Pogba thing's not working. The Sancho thing's not working. The Luke Shaw thing's not going to work because Man United demand more, especially now they've got some of the old school back. Right? Ollie, you can see he's bringing back Mike Phelan. He's got Carrick in there. Now it's going to become about, there's some things that are not negotiable that we did under Fergie for 10, 15 years. They're going to come back. Pogba's going to have to get out of here. That Sancho thing, leave your ego at the door. Pogba couldn't do it. I don't know why they think Sancho's going to do it. And the money's insane, by the way. It's 110 million pounds. So I'll let that one sink in. Now, if they make this mistake again, that's 2 in a row world record fees. It's madness. This is how United, I know, is they are falling apart. So I have my reservations on Sancho. The second one, I think I have my reservations, but I said to you the other day, it's what they need. Right? I love this guy. He's an absolute maestro. He is quite brilliant. And I think Liverpool will do well to get this guy's services. Right? The other guy is here, Alcantara. Of course, Brazilian heritage, but plays for Spain. Now, this guy's an artist. The big red flag, though, injury. and he's what's he now, 29, I've always said it. You get injured when you're young. It doesn't get better when you're old. And remember, he's played in cotton wool leagues, right? He was at Barcelona. There's no more protected team in the world than Barcelona. Munchen, protected. They love Munchen there. The refs seem to give the softer calls for them. He's now coming to the English Premier League. I don't think he can now turn it around, and that's a big number. It's around £28 million. I don't think he can turn that around for Liverpool. But he is exactly the guy they are short of. Right? He takes them over the top. Listen, you get 30 league games out of him, you got me. Don't see it happening, though. He loves an injury. He's a sick note. Folks, those are the two big transfers. I don't really want to get into too many more. As I said, we will be reviewing all of the team seasons over the next 2 weeks. We start with Man United tomorrow, Paulo Diaz. I'd love to know what people think. I'm out on Sancho. Not because of ability. I'm not worried about that. That's not the problem. He's clearly brilliant. It's the character. And I always say, I can't say this enough. Whether it's my personal life, whether it's at work, I always say I don't want talented people if they can't be in a system. System over talent. And if Sancho is going to compromise that, got to go, mate. Thiago Alcantara, perfect. Because Liverpool, you are too functional in the midfield at the moment. Too functional. You need an artist, and he would be brilliant. But huge red flag, because the injuries are prodigious. Love to know what people think. Alcantara, right call for Liverpool? Jadon Sancho at 110 mil. Do you have any reservations? Because I would not even, it's a non-starter for me with Sancho. Man United fans, what do you think? Love to know what you think. Speaking of brilliant, talented people, my goodness gracious, this Caleb Clark breaking people's ribs and just diving on them after they scored tries. What a weekend he had. Cannot wait to hear what Woude's got to say about the rugby. Woude Muller with the skip pass.
Yeah, geez, after Caleb Clark gave us a bit of he should have been banned for this weekend's game, to be honest with you. But then he comes back and has a absolute mammoth outing. And then you think, thank goodness for you, Blues, that he wasn't banned. Whatever that referee was like, he obviously likes the Blues. But if we just have a quick look at the results first, it seems like it was kind of a weekend for the away teams to take the wins. There was only one home team, the Brumbies, that beat the Reds 22-20, which is much closer than I thought it was going to be. And then the Force and Rebels, which again went into overtime, and the Rebels only scored a try in that overtime to beat the Force 25-20. Now, I mean, I think it was a pretty good outing from the Force, the fact that they could take the Rebels to an overtime play. Yeah, but I think both of these games are much, much closer than I thought it was going to be. And the Brumbies were also really lucky with that last gasp penalty kick that helped them to beat them. So it was pretty tight games. And I know people keep talking about the Australian rugby and all sorts of things and whatever. But in the end, actually, the fact that the Australian teams are playing against each other might not be the quality of rugby that we are seeing from the New Zealand, but it's still tight games, and it still gets a little bit more exciting to actually watch them play each other. So, yeah, I don't think it's as bad as people actually think. Don't let the Australian teams go play against the New Zealand teams. That's a different story. But for the competition in Australia, I think it's actually going pretty well. And then, obviously, New Zealand. 2 great games again this weekend. The Blues had their first ever win at Forsyth Bar Stadium, 32-21. And then the Crusaders beat the Chiefs 32-19. I think I really feel sorry for the Chiefs. And Mbolela, I don't know what you think, but for me, that game, I think the Chiefs fought hard for most of the game. And I think they were again on the wrong side of a lot of 50-50 calls the whole game. I mean, the Crusaders kind of did look more turned on, obviously, and especially in the last 20 minutes. But I don't know. Yeah, those 50-50 calls against the Chiefs for me was just, yeah. I
It's
think
going to
it's
be
more
tough.
for me. Yeah, I think for me
It's
it's
going to be
actually
tough against the
more.
Crusaders when the ref helps.
Yes, exactly. Now, so specifically, actually, the ref. This is again what stood out for me and what absolutely irritates me to watch all of these games. I absolutely hate watching them because the referees are actually making it not nice. So there were, what I think, 3 instances this weekend. There were controversial tries, TMO inconsistencies. I think another thing is like the hooker scoring this weekend. It seemed to be that kind of weekend.
Trend,
I think this could scored like 4. Well, I don't know how many tries Dirk scored, but it seems like that was a trend for the weekend. But for me, so there were 3 instances. Sean Stevenson got a very, very harsh yellow card for a deliberate knockdown or knock on when he tried to get the ball in an intercept and he knocked it on. I think that was, again, the referee, probably if it was a Crusaders player, I didn't even know if they would have given a penalty for that. For me, it possibly deserved a penalty, not a yellow card. He had his hand on it. He was already in between the players. It was just kind of a pity that he knocked it on. I think the only people that thought it was a knock-on was probably the referees. A lot of the other people said, and a lot of the commentators even said that was a bit harsh. The second one for me was the try that was scored by Severis, despite the fact that there was a clear knock-on by a Crusaders player in the lead up to that try. And literally the only people that didn't see that knock-on was the referee, the TMO, and the linesman. How?
And me,
how could you not have seen that was a knock-on? Come on.
No, I also did not see that was a knock-on. No,
of course
it was not a knock-on.
It was a knock-on.
So,
the fact that the player turns around and it doesn't mean that you don't knock the ball on. So what? You're going to knock the ball on and just turn around and run a little bit forward, and then it's not a knock-on. The ball actually dropped in front of him, and the fact. So yeah. So again, why did they do that then? Why are you saying that it wasn't a knock-on?
So I actually ended up speaking to one. Yeah, go ahead.
No, so the ball actually moved forward. The ball landed more forward from where he dropped it. That is a knock-on. What more is there to understand about it?
I ended up speaking to one of the commentators on the game, and he was going berserk. So, legend, All Black legend, after the game. So him and I were texting. And what I said to him is, I don't know what he's talking about. So if you've ever seen in a rugby game, when you pass it to a guy and he doesn't catch it cleanly, he knocks it forward. But before it hits the ground, he'll tap it back or catch it. So what happened in this incident, and it's quite clear if you go and watch it again, is he knocks it forward, but before it hits the ground, he knocks it back. So that's not a knock-on.
No.
Because it hasn't made contact with any. So a knock-on is when it has to either hit the ground or make contact with people in front. It was not a knock-on. I don't know what Justin Marshall was talking about.
No, it was a knock-on.
In the end, it's like, I can't believe I agreed with the officials. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was like, Marshall, are you even watching the same game? I mean, him and I were texting for, honestly, an hour after the game, and he still can't get it through to his wonderful locks, Goldilocks, that it was not a knock-on. I couldn't believe, because he was going nuts on the feed. Move on. And for me, listen, it's not about one incident. That's not how you lose the game. This is what I was saying last week. The Crusaders are a different story. The Chiefs played really well for 55 minutes, give or take. The problem with the Crusaders is, forget the ref, is you have to play well for 80 minutes every game. And this is what happens. They wear you down. And in the end...
They do turn it on in the last 20 minutes, but I just think it is not fair against a team to do that. They've been like I said, on the wrong side of so many calls from a TMO. I don't know if the TMO just doesn't like the Chiefs. Maybe he's got beef with Gatland. Maybe he's got beef with Samkin. I don't know. But it seems like something is going on against the Chiefs, because if there's a call, it will always go kind of against them. And then I think the other controversial non-try for me was the one from the Blues. One for Dalton Papili. So it didn't affect the outcome of the match, but Fraser still awarded the try. And then because of pressure from the players and from Aaron Smith, he reversed his decision after seeing the replays on the screen. So he didn't necessarily even go to the TMO, but the players did. So now, if you haven't seen this, please go Google, go YouTube, go onto Twitter or whatever you want to do and go watch what Aaron Smith actually does, because I find it absolutely pathetic that an All Blacks player would actually do something like that. He trips over his own feet. And then he pretends like the guy was playing. So the guy actually, so I can't pronounce his surname, Tuanuka, that guy, Blues prop. He tried to roll away. He realized he's going to be in the way, and he actually dug down to get out of the way for Aaron Smith to pass the ball. Aaron, don't know what he was doing. Like I said, fell over his own feet, lost the ball, not even forward. I lost it over his own head somewhere backward. I don't even know. And Papili picked it up and he scored a 70-meter intercept try, which is a brilliant try. But now I just, yeah. Because he kind of, I don't know, Aaron Smith, like he was diving over the guy. Yeah, I think it was really bad gamemanship from Aaron Smith. And that's what irritates me about these freaking scrum halves who opens their mouths and talks the way that they do. Yeah.
Some gamesmanship from Aaron Smith.
Yeah, I don't think it was great. So those are the three things. Again, very controversial calls. And moments like these do change moments in a game, even though we know the Crusaders will pick it up in the last 20 minutes. But it is also quite, I mean, as a Chiefs, if I have to be a Chiefs player, or you're kind of like, again? So it's hard to pick yourself up again after that. And maybe I'm getting a little bit of sympathy for Sam Cane at the moment, which I never thought I would say, but it must be really difficult to keep being positive if this is going to keep happening all the time. And please, if you guys haven't seen this, please go watch the replays. Please go watch the highlights or Google these or YouTube or whatever, and let me know what you think. Because for me, it was a knock-on. For me, Aaron Smith, that should have been a try because he was just stupid. And yeah, that shouldn't have been a yellow card. So I think the inconsistencies from the team, it's almost, you know what it is, what I find from the referees? It's almost like they could only focus on two things at a time. It's almost like they get told in the week, okay, we're focusing on the offside and we're focusing on the tackler rolling away. And that's all they can look at. They can't see anything else going on in the game anymore. They can't see maybe the ball carrier holding on. So the next week, they say to them in the meeting on the Tuesday before the games, okay, so we've realized that there was about 80% of tackler not rolling away and only 20%. And then they go the other way. So it's like, no, add it on. Don't now all of a sudden not see the tackler rolling away. So maybe they just can't focus on so many things at a time. Men,
so what do you think about...
short attention span.
What's that, men?
Yeah, short attention span.
That was quite a toxic femininity statement there, but well, yeah. I mean, geez, I'm so triggered right now. But now, what do you think of them punishing guys who can't roll away in time? Because that you punish straight away. Like, do you like that, or should you give guys more of a chance to roll away?
But this is, I think, where a little bit of like your own thinking needs to come into that. If, like we've spoken about this before, if the scrum half is literally putting his knee on the player in front of him, how is that guy supposed to roll away? If 7 people are lying on top of him, how is he supposed to roll away? If his arms are up and he's not contesting for the ball, should we be penalizing that player? Because is that the only thing that you're now really looking at? So the ball is coming out cleanly. This guy can't do anything. And now we're stopping it. So we're the whole thing with all of this is trying to make the game faster, but are you actually just blowing them up for nothing? So that guy literally, he ducked down and he tried to get out of the way. Shouldn't that at least count in his favor? Or the previous weekends when they were, when I think it was a TJ Perinara that was kind of on top of the other player.
Uh-huh.
How do you roll away? How?
That's more gamesmanship. But for me, by the way, that guy, I forget what his name is. He's got a great mustache, and he used to be a bouncer like 2 years ago. Imagine that. And he became an All Black and went to the World Cup. But I think you can't have your cake and eat it. either you want to speed the game up or you don't. If you're going to speed the game up, you punish that all the time, because there's also gamesmanship in the past of, remember, when you make the tackle, at that level, they know which side they're falling, right? Not always, because that's not always your choice, but more often than not, there's clever guys who make the tackle and fall on the wrong side and then claim, oh, this is where I fell. So I think if you're going to speed the game up, guys must now know which side they need to fall on immediately. Otherwise, it's going to cost you. I don't want us pussyfooting around.
No, I do agree with you. But then the other player who's getting the ball can't then kneel on top of that guy so that they can't roll away. So that's not about falling on so they're trapping them in there. So you can't say it's that guy's fault. He is rolling away to the right side, but that scrum half, for instance, knows now, oh, he's going to roll that way, so I'm going to go stand there so that he can't roll away.
No, my argument is don't be there. Don't be there.
No.
Fall the other side. When you make the tackle in the contact, I'm saying the guy looking to roll away is, we need to find a way, is don't be there. So of course the scrum halves are going to, especially Aaron Smith, and Aaron Smith's so clever. You know, he's people don't love him, but he's going to do this. And if we want to speed the game up, you can't have it both ways. Either we're going to punish it all the time, or we don't.
But this is not consistent. They're not being consistent about it. So if you do want to punish it all the time, then punish it all the time. But you can't pick and choose when you want to then punish it. And this is what's happening with the referees now. So they are punishing the guy that is rolling away. He's trying to get out of the way, but they're not punishing the guy who's falling on the wrong side. So it's very inconsistent for me at the moment, and that's irritating me. So yes, if you do want to punish it, then regardless if you get caught up in it, tough luck. But then at least be consistent about it. And this is going to become a problem when we see more rugby matches, when we see more test matches, with more referees having to be in this. It's going to become a very big problem in the future. It's going to be very inconsistent. So they're trying to do this to be less inconsistent. It's not going to change. Like I said, I feel like the referees can only focus on 2 things at a time. So I don't know how they're going to manage that. Anyway, next one, my team of the week. So it was, I didn't watch a lot of the Australian games. So I think I've probably got more New Zealand guys in this team. Had to start my props off with the 2 Blues men. I think they did so brilliantly in the scrums. I think it was really, they set the tone for their win. They kept getting forward ball for them. I don't know if you can pronounce that surname. I'm just going to say the one prop. And then Tuanga Fassi. Yeah, Tuanga Fassi, I think I've just had him in my team so many times that I had to realize that I had to learn how to pronounce his name. But for me, I think he just keeps getting better and better. I think before this tournament, no one even rated him and no one really even knew about him. Maybe it was because they never wanted to pronounce his name, but I think he's really putting his hand up for All Black selection at the moment. He's been consistently good. His scrummaging is good. He's good with ball in hand. His tackling is great. So him, for me, has definitely been a standout player in this entire tournament, and be very interesting to see if he's going to get that All Black call up. Okay, you could have probably gone with Falafenga from the Brumbies. He also scored 2 tries again. Okay, they scored 2 tries this weekend. But I went with Cody Taylor. I think he was pretty good on the day. What I really did like is the fact that he worked on his lineouts. Last week, I think the lineouts was like 68%. Big reason why the Crusaders lost to the Hurricanes. But lineouts were operating at 100% this week. And that's what you need. You need your set pieces to work. The scrums were 100%, lineouts were 100%, and they won. And they played brilliant rugby. But besides that, he had a try assist, 8 runs, 35 meters, and 5 out of 6 tackles. And he conceded no penalties. From an All Blacks hooker, I think that was a pretty good outing, and I think he just showed us why deservedly is there again. My locks, I went with Lee Horner from the Force. It was a huge outing again from a lock, and I'm loving these kind of lock loose forwards, and I keep picking them for my team every single week. 13 runs, 40 meters. But then on the other side, he had 17 out of 17 tackles and no penalties conceded. Line-out wins, turnover. Great to have another guy like that, quite a dynamic, I think, lock in the team. And then on the other side, I picked someone that's probably a bit opposite to that, who's your typical lock, is Sam Whitelock. I played in his 150th match this weekend. I think he was great in the lineouts. When he took over the captaincy from Taylor, I thought he stood up and he picked up, and I think it was partly because of him why they played so well in the last 20 minutes. I think he just really proved his like senior management in the team. And yeah, I think he just again proved why he's one of the best locks in the world. Loose forwards, I went with Akira Ioni. I thought he played really well. He was brilliant on both sides of the ball. I went with Lachlan Boschier again. He's just such a brilliant player. A lot of people would have said I could have rather gone for Sam Cane. Sam Cane defensively is doing much better. I think he had 17 out of 17 or 19 out of 19 tackles or something like that. And he had 2 turnovers. But Lachlan just on both sides of the ball, he also makes all his tackles. He's always there. And then Harry Wilson from the Reds. Now, as far as I know, I think he was a cross code. I think he kind of came into rugby, and he runs like an outside back. He had a try assist, 16 runs, 88 meters for a loose forward. 7 passes, an offload, 2 defenders beaten, 2 clean breaks, and he had 20 out of 21 tackles. For a loose forward running like that, I don't know what you think, Mbolelo, but I think that is some pretty solid outing for him.
Yeah, I like him. I tell you, Lachlan Boschier is a different animal. I think, when you can get that many turnovers against anybody, it's incredible. But the Crusaders, the thing I love about them is they operate like a unit. For him to isolate runners and be able to attack the ball, and I think it was 3 clean turnovers that he got off the ground, it's unheard of. He's a serious ball carrier as well. So.
No, sure. Absolutely. So for me, I think that was the most difficult kind of position or area that I needed to choose from. You can also go for Shannon Frizzell, was absolutely brilliant. You could go for Sowakula, was great. Sam Cane, like I said. So the loose forwards in New Zealand, there's so much depth there. And it would be interesting to see who they're going to pick. Are they going to keep playing Ardie Sevilla at 8 to make space for Shannon Frizzell, which I think is going to be the All Black, and Sam Cane? Are they going to move Ardie Sevilla back? Who else are they going to play on 8? So that would be quite interesting to see when the All Blacks are starting to play what's going to happen there. Moving into my backline, scrum off, I went Finlay Christie from the Blues. I think this was probably one of his best performances of the tournament. Thought he played really well. He was just in the right place at the right time all the time. And that's something that it says a lot about you as a player, as a scrum off, if you can be in those, just be in the right place all the time. So I quite liked him. I think his red hair obviously made him stand out more. Shame, poor guy. Anyway, fly half. I think Josh Ioni had a pretty good game. I think it was his first game that he started again. And I thought he actually played really well, but you can't give it to anyone else but Richie Mo'unga. Not going to go through his stats. Not going to tell you how great he is. Only thing that I will comment on, he did not have a great night with the boot. And that will be something that he would need to work on as the All Blacks fly half. I think he only wanted 2 conversions, if I'm not mistaken, and a penalty. So he struggled a bit. And someone said to me, but he kicks it over when it counts. No, he doesn't. That's the reason why they didn't go into overtime against the Hurricanes. So you can't necessarily always count on him under pressure, but the rest of his game is just obviously absolutely brilliant. My midfield, I went with Rico from the Blues. He was great with ball in hand. He was solid on defense. He's such a strong runner. He just puts people in the right positions. I think he's probably settled on playing 13 now. Don't know what you think about that, Mbolelo, but I think they're pretty much settled on playing him on 13. I don't think there's space for him on the wing, so 13 will have to be the one. He
still won't make my All Blacks team because he can't defend. So for all of the attacking stuff is, for me, him and Laumape, for me, can't make the All Black team if I'm the selector, because if you can't tactically defend, you're not in my team. And Test match rugby is not Super Rugby.
No, but you say that. He made 11 out of 12 or 11 out of 13 tackles this weekend. So don't tell me that he can't defend.
So not just spot tackling, but there's a lot, and there was a lot of times when that outside gap of his was exposed. So not just necessarily the one-on-one tackles. I can't work with it. With ball in hand, he's awesome, but no, thank you, not for me. But great, hey, listen, great player to have in the rotation. Not for me. I've got Listen, the All Black 12-13 for me is set. I know who I would pick, and it's not even close.
But
But
I don't know.
yeah, exceptional player. Exceptional. Wow. Imagine having him as your third option.
I don't think. I think defensively he's really stepped it up. But I think 13 is definitely his position. And then I went with Simone from the Brumbies. Thought he was pretty solid in the Brumbies team. And then my outside backs, Caleb Clark. You can't pick the team of the week without him this week. And then I went with George Bridge. You can probably go for Severis in that, but I just think George Bridge, he was just so good with ball in hand. His decision-making is just brilliant. And he actually made the most tackles of all the backline players in the Crusaders team and the second most of the entire Crusaders team. I think he was only the second behind Christie on the night. So great outing from George Bridge. And he just, again, he knows when to be where. His decision-making for me is just brilliant. And then Will Jordan, 16 runs, 101 meters, a try. He beat 5 defenders. This is a great talent that has been unearthed in New Zealand rugby. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him being in the All Black setup after this tournament.
George Bridge is the best wing in world rugby. And it's not close. He's not short of anything. And he's so good. He's so, and you know what I love about him is it's not like he's one of those slow wings where, okay, technically, he's even better for me than Ben Smith was, because Ben Smith lacked the pace.
Oh, wow.
And I love Ben Smith. Listen, I think Ben Smith is legendary, but we're looking at a guy who's the next level with the pace. Love him. Love him.
No, so really, and I think he looks like quite lanky when he runs. So I don't think you would ever think that he could do what he does. And then when he just gets up to speed, I mean, the try that he scored last weekend was, again, absolutely brilliant. So his skills are just, and it's great to see how his skills are developing and how he's just getting better. So again, the All Blacks have so many decisions for the outside backs. It would be really interesting to see when Test match rugby starts. Are they going to pick the big Caleb Clark? What Caleb is, 100 and whatever kilograms? Are they going to pick the big guy? Are they going to pick Severis, George Bridge on the other side? Because Caleb Clark and George Bridge actually plays the same side. So they're going to have to see, are they going to move Caleb to the other side to be able to play him? What are they going to do? So it would be, they definitely have a lot of options at the back.
That they do.
That's what
that they certainly have got, because they've got both Barrett brothers as well, which is an awesome 15, 14, 13, wherever you want to play the youngster, and then you can play Bowden wherever as well. Scary stuff.
No, it's really
scary.
And then
stuff.
Still, they do have Damien McKenzie. Damien McKenzie hasn't impressed me yet, but he's still there. You've got Will Jordan. You can't play a fly over Mahanga. I'm sorry. Will Jordan, you've got, so you've just got so many options and so many youngsters coming through. It's going to be scary playing the All Blacks in the next few years.
And I thought what was interesting to me with the All Blacks or the New Zealand teams is they score so many different types of tries, right? Watching the Australian stuff, it's kind of like, it was almost like how we used to play rugby when I was 14 and 15. It was so patterned. They can only score one type of try, those Australian teams. And like you could see, the first 2 types of tries, okay, that's how they're going to get points. But you look at the Crusaders, they're getting drives, mauls, pick and drive, scrum half breaks. You kick it to their back 3, it's Severis, Bridge. And, I mean, they got a new freak in town,
Jordan,
in Jordan. So that's what I love about, number one, the Crusaders, who I always say are the best rugby team in the world. But it's starting to look like all of the teams. The coaching is, we need to be able to score every type of try and avoid the breakdown, right? That seems to be something. So, man, it's an awesome watch. Wow. These players are just scary.
Yeah, so that was so now obviously the Crusaders have moved a little bit further ahead. They did get a bonus point, but the Blues also got their bonus point. So if the Crusaders win this weekend against the Highlanders, then obviously it's game, set, match. If the Highlanders do the Blues a favour, then that last match between the Crusaders and the Blues at Eden Park will be quite something to watch. But
don't see it though.
I don't think that our man Dan Carter is going to get a run out for the Blues at all.
Shouldn't
so
be.
I don't know why they paid him.
I feel nothing. Shouldn't be there.
So that's the upcoming games, and I think it's kind of game, set, match. Don't count your chickens before they hatch, if you want to say that, but I can't see.
Okay, so I can't believe people are still saying that. Crusaders count them. All of the eggs have hatched, and the Crusaders are definitely beating the Highlanders. That's like, hey, the Highlanders fly half, by the way. Ioane can't even kick a 40-meter kick. Like, it was like a miracle kick for him. I was like, what are you talking about? It's terrible. Frontal Stain was drop kicking that against us in high school. Oh man, hilarious!
Give him a break. He just came back.
No,
he just came back.
Not at that level. 40 meters and it creeped over. Like, oh my goodness, this guy! You need to do leg day. Terrible.
I don't know. Yeah.
Oh,
so
terrible.
That was my pick. I don't know if you would disagree with me on any of them, but I think it's a pretty good side.
I would have had Severis, because some of the things that he did this weekend to put people away is I probably would have had him over Will Jordan. Jordan made 2 crucial mistakes that led to tries, but he is wow, he's an electric factory.
But it's almost like, so I get it. Remember, it's also still, I'm going to say this, he was also still young, but he would kind of do one thing, make one mistake, but then he would do 5 absolutely incredible things that kind of make up for that again. And that's exactly what he did. Yes, the one was where he put his foot in touch and kind of would throw it back in, or something happened and then scored a try. But then he just makes up for that with these incredible runs, brilliant under the high ball. I can't. I don't know. So it was actually, for me, it was between Severis and George Bridge for my team. But I think George deserved it this week. Next week, I might feel different.
Hey, next week's a whole pandemic week away. Yeah. It's a whole pandemic 6 days away. Yeah, let's not count those chickens. No, those chickens don't count. Don't count the chickens of how Birdie will be feeling next year. No, solid team. Hey, can't fight that. All pretty stock standard stuff. But great weekend. I mean, those games, once again, getting close. Just want to say 100% for me in Super Brew this weekend. Got all of them right. And I was 1 point off of the Crusaders game. So feeling good about myself.
Nice.
Yeah, feeling good. No. But your team's good, Vody. I think it's tough. It's a toss-up between everyone there, and it's tough but fair. But fair. Yeah, tough but fair. All right. Well, we're looking forward to it. We will see. You're back on Wednesday, Vody. I mean, you aren't leaving now, but the skip. Yes, Wednesday we are picking our.
So we're picking our number 8. So we're moving into our forwards. And having to pick the best number 8 into the. I didn't want to say it, but if we have to go there, we'll go there. So we're going into our forwards. It's our number 8 pick this weekend on Wednesday.
Okay.
So looking forward to that. Yeah.
Ooh. Okay. Now that's an interesting one. That's going to be an interesting one. Can't wait for that. Really looking forward to that. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the skip pass for today. Very good. But Vody is not going anywhere. We will answer some questions in a little bit. So we got a few questions, Q&A. That's coming up after this. Looking forward to that, Vody. Stick with us.
Yes.
Alrighty, we are back. Dave, let's get straight into it. Q&A. What you got for me, David the Red Leroux? Jesse Randolph says, I think Leno should go. Martinez is great. I agree. By the way, I totally listen. One of them has to go because that's not going to work. Martinez is not a backup. What a great story. Obviously broke my heart in the weekend. Absolute. Like, hey, FA Cup after the final whistle, I just turned it off. I was in a dark room and just had to rethink my whole entire life. It was so depressing. But Martinez, brilliant keeper. And everybody knows I don't like any goalkeeper below 190. So for me, he's brilliant. And also what he's got over Leno, by the way, less mistakes, right? But the feet, the feet, he can play at the feet. And Leno, niche, as they might say in his home country. So for me, I agree. Or at least make a choice. You can't have two number ones. The old saying is if you've got two number ones, you don't have a number one at all. So couldn't agree more. They're the half. Dave, what you got? Senzo Sitebe says, how do you think Australia go about saving their rugby from grassroots up to the very top? Bodie, what you got to say?
I think the one thing that Australian rugby will probably need to realize is that they are going to lose for a few years. They are going to be pretty crappy for the next kind of few years. But there are a few problems in Australian rugby. They definitely need to start spending money on grassroots level. So at the moment, they're kind of building from the top down, and that's not going to work. It's never going to work. So I think they need to stop buying players from rugby league. They need to kind of maybe even let your players go overseas, your top players, let them go play overseas. You can use that money that you're paying towards the top players and the like highly paid players, use that money and rather push it into grassroots. So let the players go, let them go play overseas, allow them to still play for Australia. And that's kind of what we also did in South Africa. So then we can even do more of. But I also do think that Australian rugby should probably go their own way. So this whole thing of just accepting what the All Blacks or the Kiwis are saying to them is like, you can play in our Super Rugby, but you're only allowed to play 2 teams. I don't think that's the way to go for them. I think they should keep it local, kind of go their own way, kind of build that tribalism and teams in their own area and feed those teams from the schools and the clubs in that area. It would be better, I think, for all the teams to kind of see that, okay, there's like players from club level are moving into the professional era, so there's a better connection between the amateur and professional rugby, and they need to probably have a stronger presence in the schools. I think at the moment in Australian rugby, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but they kind of focus more on private schools for rugby in Australia, and I think they need to start focusing on public schools. So they kind of need to take this perception away in Australia that rugby's for like the kind of hoity-toity people in private schools and go into the public schools. I think they also need to kind of maybe have camps in like more of the communities, run clinics, and get the high profile players, so the players playing for the Wallabies or playing for the senior teams, kind of get them into those areas so that the kids can again get people to look up to. Because I think that's a big problem. They don't have anyone in rugby union that they kind of can look up to. So break it all down, get rid of all of those, and get those people back into the communities and get the kids interested in rugby again. If you have to give tickets away for free to the kids to go watch rugby games, get a bit more of a lead up and a media hype to it so that the kids want to go and they can see the Euros playing again. And I think that's a big thing. And it also comes down to the fact that, yes, their rugby, like I said before, is not the quality that you see in New Zealand, but at least if they play each other, the scores won't be absolutely ridiculous and crazy. And maybe they will start getting stronger and people will start watching because they're not getting completely like demolished by New Zealand teams. So rather move away from that, stick in your own country, let people get interested in that again. And I think they probably also need to rather get, what do they call it there, free-to-air TV. So you can kind of, I think, stream it at the moment, but you have to make it free for people to watch. Make it more accessible and expose more people to watching it. So I think that's kind of, I think it just fixed Australian rugby for them.
You did. And also don't have a goth as the CEO. Or never have a goth again.
She's not the CEO anymore.
Everyone must go and look at what this lady looked like. She was a goth and she was the CEO of rugby. Don't be ridiculous. I have lots of goth friends. And I've got nothing against the goth community, but don't have a goth as a CEO.
I think that's what it needs to come down to, is just break it down, go into your grassroots, get players that the youngsters can look up to, and keep it in that. So they're very much about the tribal and the communities, and stick to that. Feed from the schools and the clubs and keep it in that. Yeah. So people will start supporting them more and more.
Okay. So in the rugby league, I think what Woude's alluding to is they've got something called, if you haven't seen it, by the way, I've been there for this, is the State of Origin series is one of them that it literally shuts down the country, by the way. So you have to play for the place where you're from in this particular game, no matter where in rugby league you're from. It is insane. So they might need to go with that model. Fair enough. All right.
Yeah.
Fourie de Priya, this is from a previous show. Fourie de Priya just takes control over Uist. And I mean just. Fourie's rugby IQ is ridiculous. So I think that's somebody agreeing with you about picking Fourie de Priya over Uist.
Yeah.
And he says his IQ's the differentiator.
Yeah. So last week, Wednesday, I picked my best 9 out of 3 respective World Cup wins. So we've kind of had the series where we're doing that. And I picked Fourie de Priya over Uist van der Westhuizen. And some people will definitely not agree with me, but I'm so glad that Senzo does. But I think what we need to see here is kind of this whole situation where the student became the master. Because I think Uist gave Fourie his first personal rugby lesson or something at the age of 13. And Fourie's kind of always been under Uist for such a long time, learning from him, seeing how he does things. But I think the quality of both of these players can't be questioned. You have to be pretty good to eclipse Uist. But I think Fourie's tactical genius just kind of puts him over Uist. Rugby IQ, yes, but I think what also kind of maybe puts Fourie over him is the fact that he had this calmness under pressure. And for me, a sign of a good player is one who appears to have a lot of time under pressure. And I think that's one thing that Fourie kept creating for himself. He created a lot of time for him to do the things that he needed to do. He anticipated things a lot better on the field. And I mean, if you have to probably pick both of them, pick Uist as the impact player coming off the bench, if you want to have both of them in your team. But I think probably what you would rather say is that Fourie kind of perfected what Uist did. That makes a bit more sense.
Okay.
I think Fourie took a lot of I think Fourie maybe also took a lot of other things from because there were some great scrum-halves in the time that Uist also played. If you look at Gregan, at Marshall, at all of them. So I think he kind of took all of that and he perfected himself in that. He perfected the box kick. He could pass off the deck. He could do all of those things. So I think he also looked at what could Uist not do, and he kind of maybe even worked on that a bit more. So I think he did a great job of learning from Uist and turning it, like you just said, into the 2.0 version.
Okay, Senzo. Looks like Woude agrees with you there. Dave, what you got next, huh? Jesse Randolph says, Mbulela, what's your favorite sports to watch, top 5, and which one do you think has the best business model? So I'll just give you my favorite sport to watch is football, and it's not close, but very, very close second to that is the NFL. But the best business model is the NFL. And nothing comes close. I mean, figures just got released today. For the 5th year in a row, in a localized sport, the Dallas Cowboys are the most valuable sports franchise on the planet. Now, that's insane. Right? And by the way, probably a good time to plug it. On Wednesday, Declan Ahern, the people who do those ratings globally, we will have him on here. He will explain, how do you value a franchise? How do you value a business? So on Wednesday, look out for that. Declan Ahern, unfortunately, a Michael House guy. But anyway, we'll overlook that. He's living in London now. But yeah, so for me, best business model, NFL. My favorite's English Premier League football. And it's not close. Not close. Dave, what you got? Okay, so we had, for those who don't know, every now and then James Dalton will be joining us. He was here on Thursday, and this comment says, I agree with James that 5 teams are unnecessary. The Western Force must just forget about Super Rugby. So that's commenting on, I think, and amplifying what you were saying just now, Woude, about the Australian teams and what they can do to improve. So do you think the Western Force should be cut?
Yes and no. I actually don't think they should be cut, because what the Western Force, I think the Western Force is actually quite good for the Australian competition at the moment. And I think what this is kind of improving is that, especially after was it their first game that they played in the second round of Australian Super Rugby, I think, it was against the Waratahs. Yes, they lost, but I think they kind of showed so much enthusiasm and passion in playing again, and so much more than Waratahs did in that game. And they've kind of, so the teams that have kind of been there the whole time, it's just like, okay, we're here because we're playing. The Western Force was kicked out of Super Rugby and they came back. And I think the people in that area and the people, Western Australia, I think they just fought so hard to keep the Force afloat and keep them around, and to see them back in action is so great. And that's what I just spoke about before, is the fact that tribalism, that support from your local communities and how it works. And I think this is exactly what the Western Force, Western Australia, and all of those teams that support him actually did. So I think it's great for Australian rugby to see that with the support from your communities and the people around you, and what you can actually achieve from in those teams and in those areas. Yeah, so I think they just had this like great connection with the public and with their supporters. So I think it's actually great that they're back, and to see them playing with that passion again. And I think a lot of other teams in Australia probably need that. So no, I don't think the Western Force should be kicked out. Like I said, I don't think Australia should be part of the New Zealand model. I think they should focus internally on sorting their things out first. Yeah.
David LaRue, what you got for us? That's Vody's take on, should it be 5 or 4 teams? Go back to the old original, or keep growing the game for the most isolated city in the world out in Perth. The Australian quality is rubbish, Vody, and you know it. I would rather watch 2 horrible baseball teams play each other. The only reason it's close is because rubbish cancels out rubbish. My word. That's going polar opposite to what you just said there, Vody.
No. It's actually not, because I did say the quality of Australian rugby is not the quality of New Zealand rugby. But if you have to rather let teams play, rather let teams of the same kind of strength play against each other, because it doesn't look that bad, but they will get better within themselves if they sort these things out themselves. If you have to go week after week, go lose with 30 plus points against a New Zealand team, people are also not going to want to watch that anymore. You're not the only team that might win some of the games, probably are the Brumbies, but you don't want to see that. So that's why I'm saying rather keep it inside. That would be much closer. Like we said, the games over the weekend, yes, it's not the quality, but at least they go into overtime. So it's making it a bit more exciting. So that's why I would say keep it in Australia. But I don't think I don't think you can say that about Australian rugby in itself. So rather let them play against each other. Let the people watch that. Let them get interested in that again.
Got to tell you, I'm with Senzo. Get the Force out of there. It's a waste of time. No. But fair enough. Jesse Randhoff says, I'm still buzzing after the cup win on Saturday. It was amazing. Chelsea fans blaming the ref. Aubameyang is the best striker in the British Premier League. I cannot agree with you more on the Aubameyang thing. And as a Chelsea fan, I stop blaming the ref. Stop blaming the ref. We should have won that game, because 1-11, Chelsea's a better side. So what happened was, in my opinion, is Lampard got outclassed tactically. Maitland-Niles on the left there. Great tactical decision. Oh, man, because they created the overload on that end. And then you've got Oba, of course. And then what they did brilliantly was, as you've seen with Pep Guardiola with the inverted fullbacks, is once he moved in there, it gave Reece James a headache, and he didn't know what to do. So Reece James would be going in there. And remember, playing 3 at the back, Aspilicueta, it was Christensen in the end. Didn't know whether to go with Maitland-Niles when he pushed into the defensive mid position, even though he was playing left wing back. So brilliant tactical. It was a tactical masterclass from Arteta. It was like watching, one was playing chess, one was playing checkers. Nothing to do with the ref. Yes, dubious calls, but that wasn't the reason Chelsea lost. I think it's a poor cop-out to ever say 1 moment, 2 moments made the game. That's not how it works at the top level. Is you must impose your will. So I hear you. I don't know why Chelsea fans are blaming the ref. You should be dominating Arsenal. They're rubbish and they're 8th. So if you can't beat Arsenal, you got to blame yourself. Stop blaming the ref. And Aubameyang, yes, affirmative. And what makes Aubameyang even more incredible is he plays on the left. And he's not like Leo Messi, who's quite lazy and sticks up front. Fair enough, when you're the best of all time, you can do that. But Aubameyang drops with the left back. He covers for the left back. So for him to be getting into the positions he gets in regularly enough, and what he did to Zuma was out of this world. It reminded me when Messi did what he did to Boateng. It turned him into a human plank, a human surfboard. And he just, quite incredible. And then the finish, delicious. So Aubameyang, yes, the best. Chelsea fans need to shut the hell up about the ref. David, what you got going there, huh? Hey, Dave, you're just not going to give us some questions from our beloved public? All right. Jesse Reynolds says, that should happen in SA as well. There's only one school. So we're talking about the rugby now. That should happen in SA as well. There's only one school in Mitchell's Plain that has rugby out of like 80 schools. Khayelitsha. I've never heard of rugby being played there. I might be wrong. What do you think, Vodi?
So I'm saying,
Vodi.
Even, am I back? Even in South Africa, it's a massive problem that we're not really spending a lot of times in the communities that we have. So you can even look at the Eastern Cape. It's a massive problem in the Eastern Cape. We've got so many brilliant players coming from there, but we're not putting the time and the energy and the money into those areas. So yes, Mitchell's Plain, Khayelitsha, Athlone, all of these places around Cape Town specifically have got so much talent, but a lot of these people don't get the opportunity to be able to play. We keep focusing on the schools like Paul Roos and Paul Gym and Paul Boys High and Saks and whatever, and we don't see these players coming through. So, I mean, and might sound terrible, but a lot of the players that actually play for the Springboks, if they didn't go to the big rugby schools or private schools, would they have really ended up in the Springbok system? Or is it just because they came from the right school? Because you think of what the system actually does is when you arrive at Western Province for your first match there, or your first training as a kid, or just out of school, they literally go, okay, who have you played SA schools? Okay, you move to the left. Who have you played Craven Week? Okay, you get down there. Craven Week for Western Province first. You go there. Who have you played Craven Week? Okay. The rest of you we're not even interested. You can be a filler. So a lot of these guys, we're losing a lot of talent because we're not willing to look at players coming from the smaller schools. And we're not putting that time and that energy into that. But I just want to quickly go back to what I said about Australian rugby. If the system stays the way that it currently is, yes, you can't have the Australian teams in. I'm talking about changing the system in Australia to have it more local teams. That's where the Western Force fits in. So I'm not even comparing them to playing to New Zealand rugby. So yes, from that point of view, doesn't make sense to have them there because there are too many teams and they're too diluted with their talent. But staying in Australia, you need them. And you need actually more teams playing against each other. But yeah, so with the South African teams, that's my take on that. And I think actually in South Africa, we probably need to adapt a similar situation to what I just explained to what we need to do in Australia. I think we do need to go into our communities. We do need to have bigger footprints there. We do need to get these kids to look up to them. Yeah. Really.
So to the person who asked that question, look out for it because a man who used to run SA Rugby I will be doing an extended interview with him over the next 2 weeks once he can make some time for us, particularly regarding what you said, Mitchell's Plain and those Cape Flats areas. He has a particular connection to that and was at a stage the most powerful man in SA Rugby. He will be coming on soon. So I think it was Jesse who asked that question. Jesse, look out for that interview and please ask that question again when he's on because he's very open about rugby being an elitist game, which it still is in South Africa, no doubt. So we'll get into that and delve into what Vodi's kind of just the door Vodi's cracked open here. We'll have a very, very special guest once he can make the time because he's a full-time lawyer now. we will have a special guest who used to run SA Rugby very, very soon. So working on that for you, and looking forward to that. The Rig says, MKT, you're a single man. Vody, you're a single lady. Make it happen. So let me tell you the rule is never, ever date somebody you work with. Never, ever. I've never understood it. I've never, people get so cocky. It's like, no, we'll make it work. It'll be great. Say you're an idiot. I've seen it go wrong too many times and made that mistake one too many times. So the Rig, I'm sorry. It would not happen from my side. And I'm pretty sure Vody would not either, even if we weren't working together.
Yeah, I'd rather stay single and adopt a baby.
Yeah. There we go. There we go. Ash Bain says, what would you say about Casper Schmeichel at United? Surely you have to go for it for the romance, if nothing else. Ash Bain, look here. There's something called the side shuffle in dancing, right? That is the most sideways move ever. And Casper Schmeichel's issue really is he loves a mistake himself. So it's not like he's an upgrade on De Gea as a shot stopper. I don't think he is. But for the romance, for the storyline, I guess Sky Sports, could you imagine Casper round 2 or Schmeichel round 2? It would be electric. But I don't love Casper Schmeichel. I've just seen too many mistakes from the guy. I think that romance season kind of caught us off guard. Niche. No good. But yes, for the storyline alone, I'd love to see it. I would love to see it. Dave, what you got? Casper Schmeichel, for those who don't know, is the son of legendary Manchester United goalkeeper Peter Schmeichel. Senzo Sitebe says, did you see the scores in the NBA last night? Bad defense. 1, Warriors have changed how the game is being played. 2, you need a center who can shoot. And 3, you need a point guard who can score too. So let's start with the first one. For those who don't understand the NBA, something I love as well, is that what these guys did, right, is they've got the 3 best shooters of all time. They had them on the same team. But when they really changed the game is when they had the Splash Brothers. And in the NBA, if you play water polo, I think you'll understand this, is it's all about spacing, particularly in defense. So the further apart you have to be, the worse it is for the defensive team. I'm sure you'll understand this. In everything, you want to defend from the inside out. And in basketball, what happens now when you've got Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, they call them the Splash Brothers, is that they're turning 3-point shots into like a set shot, right? Like a set, basically a layup. What that means is you now have to commit 2 out. And then you've got Draymond or whoever in the middle who's making it nasty down on the block, as they say in the NBA. So then you've got that problem. They had Javal doing his thing at a stage. So you've got the spacing off for the defense, and then people are cutting, and it's a mess. So that, yes, they did change the game. And now it's all about not defending. And you're seeing what they call at the Houston Rockets, is what I presume Senzo's referring to, is they're calling it small ball, right? Instead of having that old school sort of your power forward or small forward who's going to be LeBron size, and then you're going to have a center who's 6'8", 6'9", whatever, generally dominating on the block. That doesn't work anymore, leading into your third question. Joel Embiid can shoot now. Dirk Nowitzki was the evolution, right? And then Kevin Durant, look, let's not call him the rule because he's an anomaly, is when you've got those type of handles at 7 foot and you can shoot on 11-foot arc, nobody's ever been that. So please can we not say, okay, that's what it has to be now. We may never see that again in basketball again. Because it's like having Kyrie Irving in terms of the handles, right? And having Steph Curry with the shooting. Or Michael Jordan, because his mid-range game is disgusting. It's filthy. Because Kevin doesn't really get down on the block, right? He wants to face you, blah, blah, let me put it up. Blah, blah, fade away. And when you're shooting from an 11-foot arc, the fade away, the mid-range game that Kevin Durant has, what took them over the top was that he gives you that a banker, right? Is you can't touch him. He's great from the free throw. I think 85% free throw shooting. And then also the mid-range game is it's 2 points almost guaranteed every time they're down there. So it really has changed it. And it's interesting to see, and this has always been the criticism, I'll finish off on this, of why the Rockets and James Harden couldn't get it done. The problem with Harden is he dribbles the air out of the ball, right? So when he dribbles the air out of the ball, especially Russell, it's all cool now, we're winning. And, I think he got 6 turnovers, did James Harden last night. But when it comes down to the playoffs, is that style's not workable because he's exhausted come game 4 or 5, and teams have seen you for the fifth time in 2 weeks. They adjust. At this level, they adjust. So it's awesome to watch. But is it championship winning basketball? I don't think so. It's too high impact. Because this is why LeBron, people say, oh, how's LeBron able to do this 9 years in a row in the East by himself? I'll tell you how he does it. Is LeBron will play everything at his pace. So when he sees that the team's fatigued, game 3, 4, he slows it down, makes it more about him, calls more plays. James Harden, not capable of doing that. I want to dribble for 20 seconds and then throw up. I mean, they missed something like 43-point shots yesterday. If you watch NBA, you understand how ridiculous that number is. So, all right, have at it. And they don't play defense. I like it. Too high impact to win championships, I'm afraid. But, hey, put it on television. I want to watch it. Dave, what you got? Christy, the blue scrum half, was always in the right place at the right time, even though he is a ginger. He did have a good game. Bodie, what did you think of Christy's game?
No, that's exactly the reason why I picked him for my team of the week. He was absolutely brilliant. To be able to score the tries that he did score, you need to be able to read the game well enough to know where you need to be to get those passes. So yes, Caleb Clark did brilliantly. Yes, you did good to give him that pass, but you still need to be able to be there to get those passes and to score those tries. So I think he was really great. This is probably the best game that he has played. I think the Blues have been jumping between him and what's the other guy? The other scrum off. They've kind of been jumping, but I think he kind of proved that he needs to be the starting scrum off for me in this game. And I mean, I quite like gingers for some other reason. So that probably picked him over it again.
Okay, that's now we're getting. I don't know who asked that question earlier. Now you're getting to see why Vody would need to be dating a different person from me. So there you have it. Wow. The ginger community, there you have it. If you are out there, send an email to sport@cliffcentral.com and we'll send it through to Vody. The Rig says, does the beast know you call him a fatty? Oh, man, that's good. They are the fatties. I must say, they are the fatties.
When I was working for the Sharks a few years ago, we had to do the recovery massages of the players and we had to do the warm-up massages. So now Beast, with his massive neck, had to sit they sit like leaning forward, and then I have to warm up their necks for just before a game. So it's like this very fast, very hard massaging that you do. And my hand's not very big. And Beast is quite strong, if I can call it that. I had to work. I was basically sweating, trying to eventually using my elbow to get, so his neck is straight, like his traps all the way down here to get that warmed up and get him ready for the game. It was probably one of the hardest working I've ever had to done in my entire life. He's a big guy.
Yeah.
And he's not a fatty.
Trying to massage a buffalo.
Yeah, he's a buffalo. He's a strong guy.
Yeah, buffalo. He's wow. It's for those who don't know, by the way, this may be news to people that Vody used to be the bio for the Sharks. Go ahead, Vody.
Yeah. No. So now I have to go between him and Bismarck du Plessis and Yanni du Plessis. It was hard work. But
that's tough.
I know. I know. And and it's very hard. Like, it's not like recovery massage, which is a bit slower and a bit softer and you're kind of just loosening it up. This is literally like you have to get this guy's neck activated basically before the game in the change room. So, but I did have to do a recovery massage on one of them. I'm not going to say on which one. And while I was massaging him, the guy says to me, calls me close. He's like, can you please go a little bit softer? You're hurting me. So I was like, what? Me? I was like, I've made it. I've done everything I need to do in life. I've hurt one of their players. I did make one of the other players cry also. So.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Jeez. No good. And did you make him cry because a romantic situation, or was it because you were massaging too hard in some people say you hold your emotions in your chakra somewhere. Maybe you were hitting his chakra.
It was definitely not from a relationship point of view. I was very professional when I was with Sharks. It had to be, it was massaging I had to break down, his calves were like rock hard, and we had to break all of that down so that I felt so sorry for this guy. So sorry for him. And I literally had to use my little thumb. It's like a knife cutting through this. And he just had to take it. I think one, it was a girl, so he couldn't like really say stop. And two, kind of get told that he needed to do that. Yeah. No, I had my hand full with these guys. I had to chase one of them out of the gym because he let an elastic band go on me. And I was like bruised. So I said, get out of the gym. I'm never rehabbing you again. Out. Done.
Oh man, that's good stuff. And how's your relationship with that particular person now? Did you guys ever manage to cross the Rubicon and meet again?
He had to come to apologize to me. So that some of the senior players told him to apologize to me, which was great. So I was like, fine, you've apologized. You can come back, but do that ever again. And they're done.
Okay.
So you can go find someone else to do your rehab. Yeah, you can find someone else to do your rehab for you.
Oh, good for you, Woude. Standing up for the good guys. As Bain saying, what do you think about Switzerland opening investigations into the head of FIFA, Infantino? They've been corrupt forever. I'm not surprised. It's like with anything, he was there when Blatter was operating. Do people think he didn't know? Like, is this what we're doing? Do people think, where was he? He was in the executive committee at FIFA for the last, 15, 20 years. So don't do that. So I'm not shocked because it's endemic, right? The corruption is endemic. So, it's just another day at FIFA, I guess. I think it's hilarious that anyone's acting shocked because you have to say that organization's, it's rotten. It is so rotten. And unless you can actually get to the center and weed out anybody who was ever groomed by Sepp Blatter, anybody who ever worked with Platini, they all need to go. If you're serious, they all need to go. If you are tainted with having been employed by people who were employed by Sepp Blatter, even before that, if you're involved at all with Michel Platini and Sepp Blatter, at all, if their HR manager employed you to sweep at the FIFA offices, you need to go if you're serious about it. But I don't think they're very serious about eroding this. And I think it's just another day at FIFA, sadly, because what tends to happen is they're not the victims, right? These guys will go to court. They'll be banned for 10, 15 years, but they're millionaires already, multi-millionaires, if not hundreds of millions, because some of the deals, if you haven't read some of the books about the level of corruption, they were given villas, they were given hundreds of millions of dollars, they were given all sorts of things. They're not the victims. The children in Papua New Guinea who should have a sports academy, a school, right? Those are the victims. And these guys will never really face the wrath of the law. Got 100 million probably on an offshore account. What does he care? Ban me for 10 years. I don't care. I got my 20, 30 million euros and, live with a bit of shame, but I'm playing golf every day. So Infantino, I guess, what do you do? The correct thing to say for now, for fear of libelous or being labeled libelous is, let's see how the proceedings go. But, to be honest, I think we all know what's going on there. So Infantino, by the way, head of FIFA, for those who don't know. Dave, what have you got for me? The PSL is back. Who wins it all? My money is on Sundowns. Those guys are great closers. Chiefs don't have the right mentality to finish the job. You know what? The security guard who works here every single day, because he knows I'm a Pirates guy. I came in here once looking like the South African version of a chav, of a British chav, in a 3-piece. And the third piece was a Pirates cap. I was in all my Pirates gear. And he's never forgiven me for that. So every now and then he makes me stand at the gate, and it's a nightmare. It's been freezing. But him and I have the banter, and he reckons his Kaizer Chiefs are the guys. I said to him, look here, when was the last time you were actually serious? And Pizzo's the guy. Pizzo's shown that when the pressure comes, I can absorb it. I have to be honest. I think Sundowns are the guys, and I think it'll be some comeback. But Pizzo is something else. He's the Fergie of Africa. I really believe that. I love Pizzo. And I love Sundowns. So for me, I got to back Sundowns. Chiefs or Pirates are just a bunch of bottlers, bunch of useless, bunch of what did Figgy Lembalu? A bunch of losers. Bunch of losers. That's Pirates. Dave, what's next? Ashbrain says, Vody, what's the injury? I presume, what's the worst injury you've treated? What's the injury you've treated that recurs most often?
So the injuries that we actually treated was mostly, I think you get about 40% muscle strains, sprains and things in rugby. So we treated a lot of hamstring strains, a lot of ankle strains, sprains. For any physio who just listened to me, I apologize. And then a lot of shoulder injuries. So like acromion clavicular joint sprains, dislocations, kind of like all of those things that we kind of treated. But I would say for me, I actually rehabbed a lot of shoulders. So I kind of still enjoy rehabbing shoulders at this point. And we had a lot of like muscle, like especially a lot of hamstrings. So we had to do a lot of rehab, getting the glutes strong, getting the hamstrings strong. As a runner, or when you run and when you, especially speeding up and stopping the way that you do, you can see those guys' hamstrings go. Yeah. So for me, I would say it was probably hamstrings, ankles, and a lot of shoulders. Yeah.
What does that recovery process look like, Vody? Is there a difference between, my hamstring is I'm a 70 kilogram runner, or I'm Bismarck Duplessis who's 120 kilograms? Does that affect recovery in terms of how long the process is?
Yeah, well, it depends on the grade of your sprain, strain, tear, or whatever you want it to be. So it's not necessarily just about how big the guys is, obviously how strong the muscles are, and the balance between the quads and the hamstrings and the glutes. And obviously also Bismarck is not necessarily going to accelerate and decelerate as much as a wing would. So the wings would actually get more hamstring issues than the forwards would. Forwards, because of the collision, it'd be much more thumbs, shoulders kind of thing. So there's also your flanks and your hookers, whatever, the front guys, a lot of shoulder dislocations, issues. The backs had more the hamstring stuff.
Wow, how interesting, huh? Shoulder dislocations, just like the common cold. That's interesting to hear. Very interesting, Vody. Very, very interesting. So this will be our last one, folks. Thank you for joining us on the Q&A. Senzo Sitebe says, Mbulelo, pound for pound, who is the best boxer in the world at the moment? For me, it's probably Canelo Alvarez. So listen, you've really opened something up here. What you don't know is I'm a huge boxing fan, or you may know that Canelo, the first fight against a Triple G was a robbery. And I've always said boxing's corrupt. I don't care what people say. And I love boxing. I was brought up watching boxing with my uncle. Boxing's corrupt. The first fight was a robbery. The second one was closer, probably a draw. So in terms of my personal opinion, I have to disagree. I think he might be third or fourth. But I'd have to disagree. And Canelo's special, right? I think what it shows you is how special Floyd Mayweather was. Yes, he was much younger and he was in his early stages, but he's a raw talent as Canelo, but he got taken to school by Floyd Mayweather. Perhaps not a fair comparison because one was just getting in and green, and Mayweather is the defensive maestro of all time. But I think he'd probably be third or fourth for me. And the only reason I say that is if you do love boxing, or if you like the combat sports, there is only one answer to that. His name is Vasily Lomachenko. Because it's really like watching a ballerina who's capable of being violent. And the timing. So what you must understand about boxing is the movements, not just for the sake of not getting hit, is at that top level. And this is where probably Canelo falls a little bit behind, and Triple G exposed him by hunting him down, is that you need to be setting up the next shot, whether you're going to defend or attack. That's what the footwork's for, by the way. So it's not just to get away from, all right, is my head work to get away from the jab, hook, whatever it may be from the other side, is you need to be at all times, you need to be setting up the next shot, right? And at that level, right, Lomachenko, you can watch him when he gets people in the matrix, is not only is he setting up the next shot, he's setting up the next combo. So his feet need to be in the right place for the next 6 punches, right? When you're at Lomachenko's level, so you're talking about his head position and feet being ready for the next 6 punches, and also being ready for, you might do this. So for me, it's not close. There's Lomachenko, and then there's the rest. Vasily Lomachenko. And then second is his Ukrainian mate, who I think will struggle in heavyweight, just because the good heavyweights, they'll lean on you and they'll lock you up. As you saw with Deontay Wilder, power can be neutralized. But anyway, I'll speak about the other guy another time. But I think Vasily Lomachenko, for me, it's not close. It's a completely, he's, for lack of a better term, a completely different ball game, by the way. Absolutely brilliant. Vasily Lomachenko. Go and look it up. Go on YouTube, Lomachenko, putting people in the matrix. Yeah, Dave, go ahead. Last one, folks, we'll wrap it up. Lewis Hamilton is the guy. 5 more wins, 1 more championship, and he is the GOAT. Right now, he is racing he's only racing himself. He ran Silverstone this weekend. Wow, I could not care less about Formula One. So, Woude, he might be the GOAT. He might not be. I don't know. I don't know if you want to take this one. Motorsport is unbelievably boring. I want to be clear. It is murder to watch. All of it. Painful. Woude, your thoughts on it?
Are you done? I'm not going to say that he's probably the greatest of all time. I'm a massive Schumacher fan, massive Ferrari fan, actually. I don't know what Ferrari is trying to do. Senzo, maybe you and I should have a chat about this, because I do not understand how Ferrari went from being one of the best teams in the whole world to what they're doing now. They need to fire their manager. They just need to get rid of that Italian. But when we come back to Hamilton, he's a brilliant driver, but I think if Hamilton needs to fight from the back, he's not necessarily going to be that good. He's great when he starts in pole. He's great when he doesn't have to fight and he can kind of go his own race. If he has to fight from the back and he has to actually do that, not so sure if I would back him all the time. He is in the best car. That definitely counts in his favor. If I had to maybe put Ricciardo in that car, what would he do? And my question is also, and maybe this is something that we do need to talk about for those people that watch Formula One. Everyone is questioning what Ferrari is doing and why Ferrari, and they had that whole investigation into them. Why is no one questioning why the Mercedes is so dominant and has been so dominant for so long? Both of the drivers, Bottas and Hamilton, constantly at the top. Why is no one questioning why that car is so much better than anyone else's car and all the other cars are struggling? So that's my question, and I still don't have the answer for that. So if one of you do, please give it to me.
All right. Speaking of the Snorfest, that is Formula One, by the way, the man who built that dynasty, he will definitely be on this show very soon. Over the next month, we will have the man who built the Ferrari dynasty under Michael Schumacher. He's going to be with us, and we're going to talk about how he built that. And so it's going to be very, very interesting. Look out for that. By the way, his son used to be my landlord, which is a crazy story. Not Schumacher, the other guy, but a story for the future. So Formula One fans, look out for it. I'm a reasonable man. Yes, it puts me to sleep, but dynasties are great things. Okay, well, let us know. Is Lewis Hamilton a cheat? Are Mercedes cheats? Was Michael Schumacher cheating back then? Because they would win all the time. Should anyone who actually values their lives be watching Formula One? Answer all these questions, people. Answer all these questions. Woude is into it. Senzo's into it. And millions of people are into it. So maybe I'm just a degenerate.
I'm very, very disappointed with COVID because my dad and I were supposed to go to the Italian Grand Prix in September.
Oh, hey, Woude, I can tell you a story. Been to the Monza thing. Old man is a huge Ferrari guy. He used to go to SWAT Corps and be a part of that. I went to Monza when I was somewhere in my teens. I can't remember, but great fun. You should go. Lots of noise.
So we wanted to go, all right, well, but obviously now it's been put on hold.
Well, you can be bored at home instead of in Italy, is what's happened. There we go.
I'll rather get fat in Italy eating pasta than getting fat at home at the moment. So.
Well, great way to end the show. There we go. Rather get fat in Italy than rather get fat in South Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, you could have been anywhere tonight. You chose to be with us. Thank you for all the great questions. Absolutely great. Remember, we'll be doing reviews of the football season. Tomorrow, we do Manchester United. Paulo Diaz is on. For those who want to know, how is football valued? How are clubs valued? How are leagues valued? How are TV rights sold? Right? What do TV rights mean? What's happening in the background? Wednesday, big show, Brand Finance. Declan Ahern. So you can go and read Brand Finance's 2020 report. Wednesday, Declan will be here. It'll be an awesome show. Cannot wait to ask him, how are PSG so profitable? Is FFP a real thing? Ladies and gentlemen, until tomorrow, it has been a different ballgame.
Hello.
Hey,